Hi, Misha here, and on this channel we do a bit with AKs, you might say. And this is one that we have definitely touched on and done some videos on, but I thought, why not go more in depth into the Bulgarian Arsenal SLR106 series. A couple of reasons for that. As of mid-2019, these are starting to get kind of popular because, you guessed it, you can't get them easily anymore, which always means people want things. Also, 223 5.56 caliber NATO AKs are a little more popular than they were in the past in general. And also, there's some talk, concern, worry, hullabaloo about reliability and bad feed ramps and all that jazz, which is pretty much BS, at least today. So in this video, I thought I would kind of go over the history of this gun, talk about the variations, features, and the pros, cons, and the reality versus the myth of the 106F and 106CR. But to prove to you that this is actually quite a reliable gun, let's jump over to the range and then we'll come back here to the table afterwards. SLR106CR. SLR106CR. SLR106CR.
Dead trigger. Hammer fall. My bad. Problem with these Arsenal trigger groups, the new ones anyway, they're so good that if you try to bump them, they have hammer fall.
Yeah, and that one I've polished a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Aside from J. Speedy Trigger Finger Gonzalez there, we had 100% reliability. And what he experienced is called hammer follow. That happens when you are trying to very rapidly fire a Kalashnikov. And the reason it happens on ours, any sim out in the USA, the military gun will have what is often referred to as a rate reducer, which is what the ATF considers to be an auto-sear. In reality, what that does, it is an out-of-battery safety. It retards the hammer until the bolt is fully forward and fully locked to ensure that the hammer can't go forward and do what it does. In theory, it also prevents out-of-battery detonations, of course, but in practice it just prevents dead trigger. So it's a safety feature, and many guns have it. The FAL has something very similar, but of course, on the government's infinite wisdom, they require these all be removed from military-style guns to make them semi-auto, civilian, legal. So, thanks. But yeah, we had 100% reliability, which is what we usually experience with these guns. They really are quite reliable. So yeah, let's jump over and talk about some features. SLR106CR again.
This time I'm not going to try bump firing it. I'll shoot it like a human being.
Lame human being. All SLR106s are chambered for 223 and 5.56 NATO. They're built based on the Russian AK-S74 pattern. Not really the AK-74M, believe it or not. The receiver is 1.0 millimeter stamped steel. They have a standard forged trunnion and bolt. The barrel is cold hammer forged, chrome lined with a 1-in-7 twist rate. And all of them, at least all of the carbines, come from the factory, from Arsenal Incorporated, with an AK-S type side folding stock. These two have the solid body, so kind of the AK-74M type, with the trapdoor for a cleaning kit. They also have variants that have the more traditional, kind of iconic Afghan war skeletonized stock. They use the same 4.5mm pin hinge, so you can swap between, but a more modern Russian stock will not fit. They do have a standard pistol grip with the reinforcing plate here. They come with a US-made trigger group. And typically they come with polymer handguards with the heat shield inside. You can get them in black, plum, and tan. I think they've even done some green in the past. Normally they come with the AK-74 ribbed, or late AKM type ribbed top cover. On mine here I've put a Russian smooth. The receiver does have a dimpled magwell. It does have XY stampings, as you see. Standard, these ship with a short 5 or sometimes 10 round mag, but usually 5. But they can accept, without modification, Bulgarian military mags. Standard capacity is 30 rounds. There is a compact version that does 20. You can get them in black or smoke, so translucent. These mags do have metal reinforcement. They are expensive, relatively speaking, you know, $40, but they are very good mags, especially the black ones. So, what about the variations? Well, the rear handguards back on the SLR106F, SLR106FR, and SLR106CR are all virtually identical. These will all have the side folding stock, pistol grip, take standard mag, stamped receiver, same internals, standard length gas system, yada yada yada. The difference between the 106F and 106FR is the F is the more classic AKS-74 style slab side, smooth side receiver without the scope rail. The FR, as well as the CR, will have the scope rail. One thing to note, when the stock is folded, you'll have to remove your optic, at least on most every single mount I know of, for it to completely latch. It's just how it is. So it's there, but just know if you have a rail, that's one limitation. The 106F, 106FR, 106CR all have standard length handguards and a standard length gas tube. The F and FR will have a 90-degree gas block with accessory lug and cleaning rod underneath. There will also be an AK-74 type front sight base with the bayonet lug there and an AK-74 muzzle device. on 24mm threads. These are removable. The barrel is 16¼ inches long. It's a lightweight profile, AK-74 type. The big difference when you go to the CR is you end up with a combination front sight gas block unit, so kind of a la AK-102, 104, 105. If you want to put in a cleaning rod like I've done on mine, you have to do a short one. It will come threaded, 24mm, and from the factory the barrel was stuck out to 16 inches as well. What I've done on mine is I've cut it down to 12, and I've permanently attached an extended 4-piece flash hider made by CNC Warrior. We've done a couple of videos on that, so you can check those out for more details. But basically, I did it because, for one, it looks neat. It gives you a working flash hider. Also, shortening the barrel seemed to kind of make the recoil better. It seemed to make the recoil much smoother and sharper because this pattern is meant to work with the shorter barrel. So it just made the gun, I think, more reliable, and just felt better, more fun to shoot. And the nice thing about the 4-piece style is that you can remove the inner cone while still having the outer shell pinned on for cleaning, maintenance, muzzle inspection. It makes me happy, and I think it's a neat thing. And the thing is, a regular Bulgarian 4-piece would only be maybe an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches shorter. So, you know, this saves me from having to do an SBR, and it really costs me very little, and it's not a terribly heavy device. So I like it. Again, the 106F, 106FR, they're based on the AK-S74. The final member of the family, which I don't have out, is the SLR106UR. This has been done as both a pistol and a carbine. The carbine is crank style. Still has the same rear section, folding stock. It has all your typical crank features: hinge top cover, L-type rear sight, polymer handguards. It'll have the combination front sight gas block, and it'll be SBR ready, but it will have a 16-inch barrel for import reasons and for being a Title I firearm. So you can cut the barrel down on the 106UR and go to town. Later, they would also do a 106U, so no rail, and 106UR rail pistol. It had the correct short barrel, about 8¼ inches. It was even threaded, which was nice. And in the back, it basically had an undrilled out rear hinge mechanism that you could finish out to add a folding stock if you wanted to SBR it. Or it had a hole in the back you could use. The hole was originally for the sling swivel, but you could pull it off and put on a brace adapter, much like Jay and I have done with our SAM 7K pistols, if you've seen that video. If not, you might want to go see it. So those are the members of the family. There's never been an import milled 223-556 from Arsenal. Years ago, there was a U.S. assembled one from Bulgarian parts that Arsenal did called the M5, but those have been out of production for well over a decade. And today I think they're bumping $2,000 if you find one. And even today these are starting to kind of get hard to find. What happened, Arsenal introduced their stamped line both in 223 and 7.6239 in 2006. I started to see them in stores around 2007, and it was considered to be a lower cost alternative to the mill guns. And these were the first guns to really feature a factory, solid body, left side folding stock. So that was kind of a neat thing. And it was also the first time we really saw the combination front sight gas block arrangement, SBR ready cranks, all that good stuff. And those have been available ever since, although they're getting harder and harder to find today for various reasons. Years later, they would be joined by the 104FR and 104UR, which were the same basic guns, but in 5.45. That's kind of where we're at today. The prices on these really haven't risen a heck of a lot, considering that they were introduced well over a decade ago, and even then they were bumping, you know, $900 to $1,100 depending on the model, the cranks being the more expensive back then. Today you're looking, well, it's hard to say, the market's really volatile, but they haven't gone out exponentially in my opinion. So that's a little bit of a rundown. Let's talk about some of the myths and realities of the 106 now. So here's that dusty from the range black magazine. This was the original pattern that Bulgaria developed for their 223, and it's always been a solid, reliable mag. But in the early 21st century, they kind of followed the trend and went to smoke, translucent, clear type magazines. And it's these magazines that had a bit of a dubious reputation. Spider web cracking could happen with those smoke 223 mags. This is something that Arsenal copped up to quite quickly and offered to replace mags. And that was 10 years ago. So pretty much the smoke mags made since, say, 2010 are good to go. It's also worth pointing out that many other makers had problems with cracking mags. FB Radom comes to mind for their Burial mags. They tried some clear ones that didn't work great, then they went to their green translucent that worked a lot better. So that was one issue. But to be fair, most of the spiderweb cracking stuff was cosmetic. The mags still worked okay. Although I will say the black ones have always been the most reliable for me. Translucent have always been a little pickier. Here's our internals. Nothing special here. Bolt group. This will be all Bulgarian, including the gas piston. We do have a spring-loaded firing pin. Standard recoil spring, nothing there. Like I said, a standard rib top cover. But really where the naysayers come from with the 106 is this right in here. The bullet guide. You might be surprised to learn what this does is guide the bullet from the magazine into the chamber, into the barrel. And early on, the geometry of this bullet guide was off, which caused issues. Feeding issues, mostly. Again, this is when the 106 first went into production, so it would have been 2006, 2007, maybe into 2008. The problem was quickly realized because, well, people buying these kinds of guns aren't going to accept poor reliability. And Arsenal made a change at production, going to a new bullet guide geometry. And of course they offered to fix, replace people's guns that had the defective one. Here's what needs to be stressed and remembered. That was well over a decade ago. They have fixed this issue a long, long time ago. Have there been a few 106s with issues since then? Of course. I challenge you to find any single gun that is mass-produced, let's say that's over 1,000 exist, that there aren't a couple of duds, lemons, or factory mistakes. I've even had a couple come through my shop over the years, and that's what warranties are for. But the major issue, the major flaw, was quickly addressed and fixed long before many of you were even buying AKs. So, worrying about it is pretty dang silly. 106CR, last mag of the day. what do you think?
I like it.
Alright, got it back together again. So really the 106 has kind of received an unfair reputation. It may be kind of the lesser in its family, the 107 and 104, but that's not to say it's not a bad gun. They actually are quite reliable. They will work with steel cased and brass cased ammo. And again, the issues that they had in the past have long since been resolved. That said, this was the slowest seller, and the last imports actually came in back in 2009, 2010. At least that's the Trunnion dates. What Arsenal has done, they don't just convert all that they have at once. Of course not. For one thing, they probably don't have enough compliance parts at one given time. They'll convert a few hundred when they sell. They'll convert a few hundred more. And they've been working on their batches ever since then. And it's only really this year that they've finally kind of started to scrape the bottom of the barrel there. And I don't mean that as in the bad guns, but they're pretty much out of the raw imports that they use to make the ones we know today. The ones with full features, because of the '89 import ban. You can't bring over guns with bayonet lugs, threaded barrels, and even that can take high-capacity magazines, or folding stocks, or pistol grips. The guns have to be in a sporter-compliant version, so yeah, you have to bring them over in a neutered form, and then once they're here, you can modify them, adding a few parts to satisfy the 922R gods, and then sell them to the public the way we actually want them. So these are all Bulgarian still, except for the US parts, which are actually made in-house by Arsenal. These will include the trigger group, parts of the furniture, and sometimes the muzzle of the vest, depending on the individual model. And I think people have started to really get interested in 223 AKs and the 106 this year because all the 545 guns are gone. And really all the other 223s are gone. We're pretty much just left with some 6239s, and some people like the small caliber high velocity approach. Now there's a huge ongoing debate about 556 in an AK versus 545. That's not for this video. That's too much to get into here. But it is a thing. I will say, as far as magazines, a lot of people like to try to make an AK take AR mags. I say this is not the greatest idea. The AK is meant to take its own rock and lock curved pattern mag. And to be fair, the AR-15, while I think it's a good gun, its magazine is not its best feature. In fact, it was kind of holding it back for years until finally they kind of got the mag design correct. So why would you want to take one of the at best mediocre parts of the AR and slap it into your AK? You're only going to decrease reliability. And what's the point of an AK if it's not reliable, as I've said in past videos? So I say if you're going to get one of these, just nut up and buy however many factory mags you feel you need. Me, 4 per gun is fine. But other people need 20 per gun. If that's your hang-up, just face the fact that your obsession, your OCD is going to cost you a little extra money. But by the time you pay someone to convert one of these to take AR mags, you could have already bought several factory mags. So that's just my opinion, but I'm right, but it's just my opinion. My right opinion. I just thought we would kind of spotlight the 106 since people have asked about it, and again, people have kind of been more interested in it lately. It really is a good gun. It is a true import. Has all the same features of an AK-74, which is because Bulgaria never made the AK-74M. The last really they received from Russia official patterning was for the AKS-74 and the AKS-74U Krinkov. That's why actually the 106CR, which is based on their own AR-M2 type guns, is not really a 102, 104, 105 clone. it has a lot of leftover AK-74 features. That's why I swapped out its dust cover with a smooth one, because to me the ribbed top cover on a 102, 104 carbine just looks weird. Its front sight combo device is a little different, but it looks very similar to Russian. And they will mostly use the 4-piece Bulgarian flash hider, although of course threaded 24mm, the Russian one would screw on. Here's that little mag that these come with. Speaking of come with, they come in a very basic communist cardboard style box, which is pretty much rubbish, which I don't care because I don't keep my boxes anyway. They come with the one small mag. They do come with a military style sling. They do come with a cleaning kit to go on the buttstock. They come with an oiler, and they come with the paper manual. So they come with a few extras, not as many as some, but more than others today. Arsenal is consistent about this stuff, and that's one thing I do like about them. Their prices are relatively stable, and what they come with and their features are very consistent and predictable. So, you know, there's more I could say, but I think this has gone on long enough. We can always revisit it. We just felt like getting the 106CR out again. This is a gun I was considering moving along. There's some things I'm going to be selling off just to, you know, work up funding for a project. But this gun was just 100% reliable, a lot of fun. And I don't have many, you know, 12-inch combo front sight type AKs, and I don't have many 223 5.56 AKs. I just have this one. I've got the SLR106F, which we also took out that day, and of course I've got the Archer. So figured, probably won't, because one day 545, I think it'll always be available, but I'm not sure of the cost and ease of access. 223 5.56 will always be around and will probably always be reasonably priced. So I think that's really the 106's biggest aspect, biggest benefit, is that it's shooting a cartridge that will always be available. And that has a lot to recommend it when you're thinking into the deep future. Just food for thought. Well, if you have a 106 or SAM5 or any other 223, we'd love to hear about it in the comments. If you could, like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to help support the channel so we can get out to the dusty range a little more often, please check out the link to our Patreon page. This is Misha, and Jay and I will both catch you very soon next time.